Let's get into our next topic. We're talking about the New York Jets because it's crazy what's going on between Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets right now because recently the Jets flew out to go meet Aaron Rodgers in his Malibu home in California. The amount of executives and officials that went on this flight to go see Aaron Rodgers, the vice chairman, the team president, the owner, the GM, the head coach, and the offense coordinator all flew out to try to basically say Aaron Rodgers will be a great fit. The Jets are a great fit for you. And we're on a wait-and-see basis now, talking to figure out, if Aaron Rodgers is going to play again, if he's going to be with the Packers, if he's going to be somewhere else. So it's crazy. I want to do this first because there was I believe it was the president, because the Packers don't have an owner. The president of the Packers was interviewed about 2 hours ago, and he actually had this quote to say. He was questioned, is there a scenario where Aaron Rodgers is still the starting quarterback of the Packers next season? Where he said, yeah, unless if things don't work out the way we want them, yeah, we would. He is obviously a great player. So that means that the Packers are moving forward with Jordan Love, and it's off to Aaron Rodgers. If Aaron Rodgers comes back, their plan is essentially foiled, because that quote right there basically makes it seem like they're ready to move on to Jordan Love. So I'm going to ask you, would Rodgers be a good fit in New York with the New York Football Jets?
Maybe. Yeah. The only reason I say that is he's not, and we've talked about this a lot, he's not what you would call a good team player. A teammate. He's more of a loner, and he likes that persona, being kind of a loner. He's not, he didn't, look what he did with his wide receivers. He threw them all under the bus last year at the beginning of the season, said they weren't playing well. The rookies were, it's the wrong thing to do. I think he tried to give those rookies a little confidence. Instead, and if you do have criticism of him, do it in the locker room. I wouldn't do it out in front of the media. So, I don't know. Maybe he can be good for the Jets, but I think that one of the big questions here is, what do the Packers want in return? Have they said what they would want in return? Nobody. They haven't said that yet, right?
A lot of rumors are saying
they may want a ton.
But here's the original rumors are a first-round pick at least. Now, I saw a report somewhere saying that the Packers would be a little bit lenient with what they actually decide to basically ask for. So it could be a second, could be a second and a fourth, could be a first and a fifth. Who knows? But it does look like the Packers want to move off Aaron Rodgers, except here's the thing.
I would say if the Jets could get him and not have to give up a first-round pick, that would be, in my mind, somewhat of a steal.
It's crazy, the parallel between Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. Brett Favre went from the Packers, being really good on the Packers, to then going to the Jets.
Yeah, but Brett Favre was older.
He was. Well, I don't think he was.
I don't know, but he was more beat up, that's for sure.
Yeah,
I agree with that. A lot more hits, I think.
Brett Favre, when he went to the Jets, was 39 years old. I think Aaron Rodgers was going to be 40. He started the season. So Aaron Rodgers would actually be older than Brett Favre on the Jets.
Yeah, but Aaron Rodgers seems to be more mobile and athletic now than that Brett Favre was when he was 39 years old.
Oh, absolutely. I completely agree with that. Yeah. Here's the parallel between Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre, right? They both fell in the draft. They were high prospects. They fell in the draft. They both talked endlessly about retiring several times over several seasons, basically bored people to death with the amount of times each of them mentioned retirement. They both had great regular season success in their careers, but in the playoffs were relatively disappointing, especially after winning their last Super Bowl. Especially Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, each of them only won one Super Bowl.
Yeah, after the Super Bowl.
So far, anyway, Aaron Rodgers hasn't finished his career. We don't know yet.
He very well could win a Super Bowl, but after the Super Bowl, they were pretty bad in the playoffs. You could look it up. Each left the Packers after about 15 or 16 seasons. I think Aaron Rodgers would be 16, Brett Favre would be 15. I think so. Yeah. And then both go to a desperate Jets that desperately need a quarterback. Yeah, so
it's interesting.
The parallel is pretty insane.
Brett Favre didn't play that well for the Jets.
Would he get hurt at the?
He got hurt partway through the season, so it wasn't all his fault. But they were good in the beginning when he was there, but they faltered down the stretch.
Yeah, so
didn't make the playoffs.
I'm going to go with this is a bad idea because I think if we're talking about the Jets here, the Jets are one quarterback away, but you're basically loaning your future on a 40-year-old quarterback. who we think Aaron Rodgers is going to have this comeback season. He's not Brady.
But what are the Jets going to do then?
That's the big question. Robert Saleh
they can't,
still loves Zach Wilson.
Here's one thing they can't do, okay? They can't trade up in the draft to get one of these quarterbacks because that's what they've been trying to do. They got Darno, that was a bust, right? They got Zach Wilson, he's a bust, right?
There are a lot of quarterbacks.
Forget that idea. The Jets cannot do that.
Well,
they have been unsuccessful with that strategy.
They drafted Geno Smith.
They got to trade for somebody. They drafted Geno Smith. They was a bust for them. So
they also drafted Christian Hackenberg, who I think got hurt in the preseason.
I don't think he ever took a snap.
I think he played in one preseason game.
Second round. They gave up a second round pick for that guy. Yeah, he never played.
They also got Chad Pennington. He was riddled with injuries. You got Mark Sanchez, who was probably your best draft pick in a very, very long time on the quarterback position.
That's true.
He made it to 2 AFC championship
Pennington
games.
Did play some good games for the Jets.
He couldn't stay healthy, though.
He got hurt.
He couldn't stay healthy.
He had some bad injuries.
And then in the Brady injury season, he led the Dolphins to lead the AFC East.
Yeah.
So it was impressive, but just for the Jets, Chad Pennington was not. He was riddled with injuries. So I think we're talking about.
So what are the Jets going to do? What are they going to do? They got to get Aaron Rodgers
or bust.
Well, maybe Lamar Jackson. That
is an option.
They would have to overpay, and that's what Lamar wants.
Yeah. So I agree with that.
It's going to be real interesting. It's going to be real interesting to see what happens. I bet they're praying they can get Aaron Rodgers.
Here's my tier list of what if the Jets could pick.
Does he after his dark retreat or whatever it was he did? Has he said anything whether he wants to play? Nobody even knows whether he wants to play yet or not.
He went on that one podcast. Oh, and here's something else that's hilarious. He's being like a featured speaker on a psychedelic conference.
Really?
Yeah, he's gonna be a lead speaker at a psychedelic conference.
Well, he uses psychedelic drugs.
Ayahuasca. He's got the what? He took that. He took Percocet also to relieve pain, I believe. Right. Aaron Rodgers is definitely a non-normal type of a quarterback, but I'm like, how far do you want to go with Aaron Rodgers? He's on a 2-year deal. He's got he got $50 million last year.
The Jets are praying that they get him.
He's owed another $100 million.
They're praying they get him for 2 years because unless they can land Lamar, which is a long shot, right? Yep. Then they don't have any. What's left? Maybe they can make a run at Jimmy Garoppolo. Maybe they can make a run at him, but there's going to be some others that will be making a run at him, and Jimmy Garoppolo may want to stay out on near the West Coast, go to the Raiders.
Very well could have.
Yeah, so the Jets are in a tough spot. They're in a tough spot.
Here's what I don't understand, and maybe you could explain, or maybe someone else can explain who's watching this, is Aaron Rodgers is going to be 40 years old. He came off a not great season without Devontae Adams. He still had 2 very, very good running backs, a pretty good offensive line, and a pretty good defense. He doesn't work well with young receivers. He's going to an entire team who's extremely young. He's going with Garrett Wilson, Elijah Moore, Breece Hall, all these super young receivers.
He may not running back. He's not a good fit for the Jets.
I don't think he'd work.
They want him big time. They have to. They want him, and they have to get him. They have to get him because there really isn't much else out there.
There's Jimmy G, and there's probably 0.1% to get Lamar Jackson.
Right.
Unless you give him an absolutely absurd deal that the Ravens just don't want to match.
The Jets are crazy enough to do that, I think.
They have been so unfortunate
they'll be in a
with
tough
quarterbacks.
spot, and they have the New York fans and the New York sports writers. They would be capable of making a big horrible deal, and Lamar will be happy, and they'll give up the 2 first-round picks.
Yeah. It would be. Hey, Woody Johnson, their owner, said that they would spend a lot of money on
the Ravens would sign Aaron Rodgers. I'd say if Aaron Rodgers plays next year, and he's either going back to the Packers or the Jets, it's one or the other. I don't see him anywhere else.
You don't think he'll retire?
Nah, I don't think so because there's too much money at stake.
$100 million. Yeah. $100 million on the table.
That's a lot of money. $100 million bucks. Right?
It is an absurd amount of money.
And with taxes and everything, you'd probably only take home about half of it. And his agent fee and everything, he's going to take home about half of it. So $50 million.
It's a lot of money.
I mean, that deal that he did, the $50 million, he got $50 million last year, right?
Yeah. It was $150 million fully guaranteed deal.
He only taken home about half of it.
Well, right now it's about a third. And now, it was a $150 million deal, fully guaranteed.
Yeah, so he's
got 50,
net,
50,
he
50.
did the whole 3 years. He's netting about $75 million. So it doesn't look like such a great deal. He needs the money. He needs the money, Nate.
I don't think he needs the money. He's made hundreds of millions of dollars now. But do the Jets want to be successful in the playoffs?
Of course they do.
Aaron Rodgers is not, as a back-to-back MVP. Aaron Rodgers did not live up to being the back-to-back MVP. We're talking about a guy who tore up the NFL for 2 seasons, and then just because you were playing a great defense, all of a sudden that's an excuse now? You were a back-to-back MVP. You didn't throw a single touchdown pass in that game against the 49ers. I get it. They had a phenomenal defense. You were the number one quarterback.
It's a great cold weather quarterback, and he didn't live up to it in that game for sure, right?
Your head coach against the Buccaneers in the NFC Championship game didn't trust you to score a touchdown on what, 4th and goal. They kicked a field goal and just prayed Tom Brady would throw his 4th interception in that game. Of course he didn't. The Bucs won the Super Bowl that year. You were a back-to-back MVP. You threw, what was it? I think it was an absurd number, like 60, almost 80 touchdowns in 2 years.
In that game, he had
90 touchdowns in 2 years.
In that game, he made a mental mistake. He had the opportunity to run the ball into the end zone.
Yeah, and he did it.
Instead, he threw it into incomplete.
And then
he could have run it right in. It was a lane right to the end zone.
I completely agree. He definitely would have beaten, I think it was Devin White, who was his spy.
Yeah.
He could have beaten him.
He that was a mental mistake.
And LaFleur's like, okay, we're gonna kick a field goal. We got to score eventually anyway, so we're gonna take the 3 points now, score the 6 later. So here's the thing. Yes, would Aaron Rodgers make the Jets better? Yes. 1,000%.
Yeah. Couldn't make them any worse at the quarterback position. That's how terrible they were last year.
The thing I don't understand is the Jets still believe in Zach Wilson. Why?
I have no idea.
He's the second overall pick.
They just don't want to admit they made a terrible mistake. That's why.
They had to eat it with Sam Darnold in the third year.
I'm willing to admit they made a terrible mistake.
Hey, 2 years into Zach Wilson, and right now he's not looking good. It's not looking good whatsoever.
Looking horrible.
It's looking abysmal. So obviously Aaron Rodgers would make him better. Would they make they would be a playoff team? Yes. Would they be a Super Bowl contender in the AFC? They'd be very, very close to it.
I think so.
I still think Josh Allen, I think Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow would beat them.
The Jets don't have to get to the Super Bowl for them to save face this year.
Just to get New York to talk about.
All they got to do is win one playoff game.
They just need New York to talk about them positively.
Just win one playoff game and be competitive in the second one. If they lose it, the fans it'll be okay.
Yeah,
because they got to the playoffs, and Aaron Rodgers has a decent season. The fans will be happy.
Absolutely.
I think they'll be happy.
Here's the thing. In the first half of the season, the Jets were being talked in a positive light. In the second half, they were being ripped to shreds once again.
Rightfully so.
Oh, absolutely. Zach Wilson played horribly. Mike White was injured. He was like,
Mike White is not the answer.
He's not.
No. I knew that.
He's a good backup. Backup. Not a great starting quarterback. He had a 2
You know what? They would have been better off to just stick with Joe Flacco the whole season.
Don't bring it. No,
the whole season. The
Joe
first
Flacco.
3 games.
Flacco.
The first 3 games he was good.
Oh, stop it.
They yanked him, and then Zach Wilson just laid an egg.
Yeah. I agree with that part, but Joe Flacco's there to get a paycheck. He's not doing nothing for the Jets. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, if you want to check out the full episode, make sure you click the I in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to listen to this show anywhere you go, make sure you go to anchor.fm/The Harvey Hour or anywhere you get your podcasts.